What's up guys, Card Protagonist here. Today I'll be doing a deck profile on Hikaru's Ancient World Genesis Dragon deck from SBD04 Dragoknight. This new season introduces a new Ancient World archetype, which is Genesis Dragons. The deck's winning image is to set up a triple formation with Big Bang and its left and right arms, creating an unstoppable Megazord with 7 attacks and deadly abilities. Even though the fighter goes down together with Big Bang due to lifelink lose, it takes an insanely total of 10 attacks to slay the beast, 4 from each arm and 2 from the head. And recalling new arms replenishes Big Bang life count, making it extremely difficult to take down. To add on, Genesis Dragon also have some of the best draw and control spells in the game, giving the fighter a huge advantage over the opponents. So let's learn more about the Dragon of Origin, Genesis. So for this deck profile, I'll be using Big Bang Dragon as the buddy because it is the first monster you usually call while playing the deck. You can also use a budget option of the left or right arms because if you don't call them in the game, you definitely lose. So if you're unable to find a 5th copy, it's okay to use either the left or right arms because they are much easier to obtain since they are rares. So for the boss monster of the deck, we play 4 copies of Big Bang Dragon, the head of the dragon. It has a core cost of 3 and putting the top card of the deck into it. So its first ability states that you may only call Genesis Dragon monsters. So one question you guys might ask is, what happens if I already have something like a countdown on the field and I call Genesis Big Bang Dragon? Countdown will still be on the field. However, I do not recommend you keep it on the field because you really need the 2 arms in order for the deck to work. So this deck is strictly Genesis Dragons for that reason. This card on the field cannot have its abilities nullified or its soul dropped by opponent card effects. So Genesis Dragon is one of those decks that has a lot of anti-control, which is very good because it actually makes the opponent work for the win. It also has an incredible set of 20k attack, 4 critical and 10k defense, which makes this monster very painful to deal with. Its final ability is the most important one. If there's another size 0 Genesis Dragon on your field, this card on the field cannot be destroyed, which means the size 0 of the deck is very important because as long as you have any size 0 on the field, your boss monster cannot die, and it's very important that it does not die because it has the lifelink lose, so if this monster were to be destroyed, you will definitely lose the game. So as long as a size 0 on the field, this card cannot be destroyed by attacks, by monster abilities, or anything. So therefore, the only way to beat this deck is to actually defeat the right and left arms, then go for the head, making it a total count of 10 in order to defeat the fighter. So we play 4 copies of the head because it is one of the most important parts of the deck and you really must get it in the deck. Fortunately, you do play a lot of draw power and this card is actually searchable. Next is 4 copies of left arm of the Genesis, Leftis. You may only call this card to the left, therefore left arm, and if Big Bang Dragon is on our field, so you must call the size 3 first before you can even call the size 0s. So it has a core cost, technically not really a core cost because it's pretty much free. Put the top 3 cards of the deck into its soul, so therefore you have a 4 life monster on the left before they can actually go for the head. The left and right arm have very different abilities. This ability is when this card attacks, destroy a card on your opponent's field. This card grants you a lot of board control, making it difficult for your opponents to properly beat down the Big Bang Dragons. Now it's time for the right arm of Genesis, Rightus. You may only call this card to the right and you have a Big Bang Dragon on the field. Core cost, similar to left, is put the top 3 cards of the deck into its cage, giving you 4 extra life. And its unique ability is, when this card attacks, deal 1 damage to your opponent. Both left and right arms have a whopping triple attack, which means you'll be able to pull off their abilities 3 times. So technically this card is a total of 9 damage since you'll be doing 3 per attack and you're doing 3 attacks. That's a total of 9. So 4 copies because you want to see left and right arms, and when the arms are damaged, you want to replace them so that you can increase the lifespan of Big Bang Dragon. Now the only non-Genesis Dragon in the deck is 3 copies of Domonica. I actually use him as a spell now because it is very important for you to have spell now nowadays. With all these incredible spells running around in Buddyfight, it's very important to have a couple of spell in your hand to nullify those crucial spells that might bring victory to your opponents. So we play 3 copies of Domonica, the 4th one at the side deck. Now let us go on to the spells, one of Genesis Dragon's strongest points. First up, we play 4 copies of Genesis Pulsation, a triple rare spell from the new set. It has a cast cost of 1 life, but is one of the most important spells in the deck because it fetches you your size 0s or your size 3. So it's a really flexible card because once you have the size 3 set up, you can search for your size 0s so that you can repair those arms. Choose and use one of Forbling 2, put up to 1 size 3 Genesis Dragon from your deck to your hand and shuffle your deck. Or if you have a size 3 Genesis Dragon on the field, you can put up to 2 size 0 Genesis Dragon with different card names from your deck to your hand. So most of the time you'll be searching out your left and right so that you can set up your Megazord or replenish them later in the game. So 4 copies of this wonderful card because it's very important to get your setup running or gain extra arms. Next up is 4 copies of its Showtime Star. I realize some of these cards have star in the name. You may only cast this card if you have a size 3 Genesis Dragon on your field. Draw 2 cards and put this card into a soul of a Genesis Dragon monster. You may only cast It's Showtime once per turn. So technically this is one of the strongest spells in Buddyfight, just out of the fact that it's free, you draw 2 cards, and you give life to Big Bang Dragon. So therefore, you gotta play 4 copies of it. Next up, 4 copies of Hikaru. So cast cost, discard a card from your hand. Look at the top 5 cards of the deck and put up to 2 Genesis Dragon from among them into your hand and put the rest into your gauge. You can only cast Hikaru once per turn. So by discarding 1 dead card from your hand, you can potentially add 2 cards to your hand or charge 5 gauge, which is amazing. But of course you do not want to charge so much gauge. But do not worry because there are tons of Genesis Dragon attribute in this deck and getting those extra arms is always nice. Now for Ancient World Advantage Engine, we play 3 copies of Divine Dragon Creation. Pay 2 life, draw 2, once per turn, very nice. And of course, not to forget, 3 copies of Dragon Emperor Legend. Charge, draw, heal, once per turn. Gaining the extra gauge, extra life is always nice. So we play a set of 3 because it's once per turn mostly. Genesis Dragon not only have powerful draw spells, they also have incredible, insane defensive control cards, such as 4 copies of Genesis Existence. You may only cast a card during attack, and if you have a Genesis Dragon on your field. Counter ability, nullify attack and choose one of the attacking cards, and for this turn it can't stand. So it's a Zero Stitching for free, extremely powerful in this meta, max it out. 2 copies of Weather the Dragons. It has a slightly steep cost of 2 gauge. Counter ability, choose and use one of the following abilities. Either stand or Genesis Dragon on the field. Let's not forget that our head deals 4 damage, our arm deals 3 damage, and another arm does some control. Casting this spell not only gives you extra attacks but gives you a lot of advantage. It also has a secondary effect which gives you a lot of defensive advantage too. For this turn, all Genesis Dragon on the field gains 5k defense and counter attack. Excellent because most of the time your opponent has to clear left and right arms, and giving them counter attack for the turn makes it very painful to clear. It might also potentially end your opponent's turn because they do fear the counter attack. So we play 2 copies because it's slightly steep, eyesighting extra against rest heavy decks. More hard control tactics, 2 copies of Genesis Tenacity. You may only cast this card if you have 3 or more Genesis Dragon on your field. So this requires you to have a full setup, which is not hard at all. Counter ability, rest up to 2 cards on your opponent's field. Really handy because you get to choose whether you want to rest items or monsters. So I played 2 copies because it does need a little bit of setup, and most of the time Existence gets the job done anyway. The last 2 spells of the deck is 2 copies of Come On Baby. It's basically a set spell and it's pretty important for the deck because it gives you immunity against destruction decks. It also gives you immunity against burn decks. If you have a size 3 Genesis Dragon in your center, damage you take by opponent card effects are reduced by 3. So any stuff like Ataura's burn damage or even penetrate will be reduced by 3, which is great because this forces your opponent to defeat the arms in order to gain victory, other than just cheating their way by dealing burn damage. Its second ability is, all Genesis Dragon monsters on your field cannot be destroyed or bounced back by your opponent's card effects. Before this card was announced, a lot of people were saying that this deck will have problem against Magic World, but with Come On Baby, it helps the deck stand up against bounce. For the items, we play 4 copies of Astro Star, the necklace that Genesis Dragon wears, or the fighter wears. Equip cost of 1 life, this card can attack even if you have a Genesis Dragon in your center. If you have 3 or more Genesis Dragon, which is full setup, this card gains 10k attack power and 1 extra critical. All Ancient World weapons tend to be very powerful, so this card has double attack and 2 critical, which is nice because it helps you beat down your opponents faster. And finally for the impact, we play 3 copies of Hikaru of the World. You may only cast this card if your opponent's life point is 4 or less and you have a Genesis Dragon on your field. Deal damage to your opponent 1 plus the number of Genesis Dragon you have on your field. The damage cannot be reduced. This card is actually free, which is nice, and most of the time you are guaranteed to have 3 Genesis Dragon on the field, which means you'll be dealing 4 damage for free, which is awesome. And I really like the art of this card, it looks really cool. 3 copies of the free finisher. So I hope you guys enjoy my deck profile on Hikaru's Genesis Dragons. So which decks from Dragoknight would you like to see next? I have left a poll on the video, so make sure to comment and vote for your favorite deck. And also, if you're looking for decks like these, do support me by checking out my online shop, www.cardprotagonist.com. Links are in the description box down below. We mail worldwide right to your doorstep. So till next time, keep on buddy fighting!